Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dee and I publish under the pen names Sky Winter for fun, steamy short romances and Lily Love for clean, Hallmark style romances where sweet meets funny. Sky will also be doing some longer romances as well, so stay tuned for that. Today is our Tropey Tuesdays deep dive. It will not be a very long deep dive because I am not well, still not well. I'm in this fight with my body trying to adjust to new meds and it's really taking a toll. So I'm going to go through I really wrestled with not doing this at all. Alas, here we are. I'll just go through it really quickly. I apologize in advance for the quicker video. Um and sometimes these are live. I did not um I couldn't do a live today. So here we are with the pre-record. Uh, let's dive into today's trope. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the maid slash butler trope, and it is pretty self-explanatory. And we only have one example today. It's a bookish example, and we'll chat about that when we get there. So let's dive right in. So, the maid or butler trope. Let's start out with a definition. Now, I will read out what I have to you. The maid trope or butler trope is essentially it brings with it social class, right? So, if you know, there's social class is also a trope, but it's more focused on a hierarchy set of system, right? So one person is an employer, obviously, normally billionaires, and the second one, like one step down, you have a maid or butler, right? So it's where one protagonist, usually a female, would be the maid and the male would be the butler, right? And they're working for another protagonist who is generally wealthy. Now, this could be fun. It could turn into something completely unexpected, right? You can flip them on their heads. The male person can be the maid, and the female person can be the butler. The male person can be the maid, and the female character be the rich person, and vice versa. You can also do this in a non binary setting where either one can be the maid or the butler, and either one can be the richer person, right? Or the person hiring. So there are so many things you can do with this. As I already hinted, this trope tends to pair well with other tropes, like the billionaire trope, because billionaires generally have wait staff, right? Or social class, as because of the hierarchical differences, there it leans well into that, right? So a few things you want to consider when you're doing this trope, like any other one that has one person over the other, similar to the boss employee trope, is very, you want a very tight rope in making things icky or making things toxic. So you want to be sure that you're not abusing the power levels, right? Unless it's on purpose and unless you're writing like dark or taboo type romance, right? You want to be sure that you're making every effort, taking every effort you can to ensure that the power dynamic is not tainted, right? We do not want to have our hero forcing the maid or butler to, or heroine. We don't want to have the richer person or the person hiring the maid or butler to be forcing those people to do what they do not want to do. We do not want to have them spying on them without their consent, right? Or their knowledge. Again, unless ignore most of these Tips if you're writing darker romances. I have seen this used in darker romances, and I'll jump into that in a second. But if you're just writing straight contemporary or historical and you're not going for that taboo dark setting, you want to ensure that you do not abuse the power dynamic. You want them to have an attraction, and you want to go with that attraction throughout the story, building on it in a logical and safe set, in a logical and safe manner, right? That's set out in front of the reader. Everyone knows what's going on, everyone is consenting, and no one is being pressured into being in this relationship or moving forward in it. Now, let's take a quick second to look over on the darker spectrum. Again, this is only if you're writing darker or taboo elements into your story. Now, in the darker world, I have seen this done where that power dynamic is purposely abused, right? But again, this is only for darker audiences. So, say for example, if you are writing a dark romance and your protagonist may be a billionaire and they hired a maid or butler, right? One of the tasks that they give them could be to service them, right? To service, if you're writing steamier and you're writing maid or butler, one of the tasks could be to service, to do like sexual acts onto them, right? But again, that's only if they're doing a darker romance, right? Your protagonist may be watching them on their cameras, maybe make without making it known, right? Or maybe doing it against the other person's will. Again, there are different themes and situations that you play with when you're writing darker elements. So, depending on what you're writing, this trope can be tweaked to be what you want it to be, right? But if you're not writing dark, you're writing straight contemporary romance, as in you're veering to the contemporary above board type situations. Be careful not to abuse that power dynamic. And if you're writing darker, where you're leaning into those taboo tropes, then feel free to play with that power dynamic how you see fit. Okay, moving along quickly. As I said, this is not going to be a a short, long video. We're going to dive into the example that we have. For this, I'm going to share my screen. Let's share my screen real quick. And we're going to dive into the example. It is a bookish example, but the example we're going to be using is The Mister by E.L. James. Now, before y'all come for me, I did read this book and I do have thoughts, right? But I'll keep said thoughts to myself. Um, I read this book. I actually bought a copy of the paperback because it was on sale in, I think it was Walmart. I'm not sure. It was on sale. I bought a copy of it a few years back when it had just released, and it didn't wow me. It didn't underwhelm me. I think I gave it 3 stars. This was years ago. I think I read it in 2019, 2018. When did this come out? The same year it came out as when I read it. I forgot. I think it was 2019. 2019. Yeah, I read it in 2019. I got the paperback. I also listened to the audiobook along with the paperback because I was struggling to get through the first couple of chapters because guys, this is a very slow burn. Right? It doesn't pick up until I think 50 or 60% in. So if you're gonna pick this up, bear that in mind. You're in for a very long road. But say what I want to say about E.L. James. She did do the maid. She used the maid in this one. She did do the maid trope well, right? The book is called The Mister because there is obviously a billionaire male that's hiring a male, and to her, he was the Mister. Okay, so I'll just, as usual, I'll go ahead and read the blurb for you guys, the book description. Okay, I'm going to assume that this all is. I know, I think this is where it starts. So here we go. Clasping her plait at the base of her neck, I tug lightly, bringing her. Well, this is a excerpt from the book, but I'll just read it nonetheless. So, clasping her plait at the base of her neck, I tug lightly, bringing her lips up to mine. Alicia? I breathe. Her kiss and kiss her again, softly, slowly. She stills in my arms, then brings her hands up to clutch my biceps, closing her eyes as she accepts me. I deepen the kiss, my tongue teasing her lips, and she opens her mouth. She tastes of warmth and grace and sweet seduction. London present day. Life has always been easy for Maxim Trevelyan. The spare to the earldom of Trevectic. With his good looks, aristocratic connections, and money, he's never had to work, and he's rarely slept alone. But all that changes when tragedy strikes and Massim inherits his family's title, wealth, and estates, and the responsibility that entails. It's a role he's not prepared for and one he struggles to face. But his biggest challenge is fighting his desire for an unexpected, enigmatic young woman who's recently joined his staff. Reticent, beautiful, and musically gifted. She's an alluring mystery, possessing little more than a dangerous and troublesome past. As Maxim's longing for her deepens into the passion he's never experienced, and there's not to name, he's left to wonder just who is Alicia Demashi, and can he protect her from the malevolence that threatens her? So that is the blurb of the Mister. Again, please go into this with a grain of salt. I have not, there is a second book called The Masseuse. I have not read it. I have no plans to read it. No, I think I rated it a 2 star. I don't remember. I rated it either 2 or 3. I wasn't overly impressed with it, and I wasn't underwhelmed either. It was just okay. It was an okay read, and yeah, it does, however, do the maid trope really well. So if you are looking for something and you don't mind a slower burn, again, it is a very, very, very slow burn. I feel like very little happens in the first 50% of the book, and then it gets really fast after that. So, going with a grain of salt, but the maid trope in this one is done really, really well. It's used as the catalyst to push the book into the romance, essentially, as the story really picks up. Because Maxim is used to sleeping around and he's the typical billionaire playboy. And all that in his life changes when a temporary agency sends him his new maid, and Alessia walks into his house, his mansion, his life, right? And everything in his life changes, and that's what sends the book down the path that it goes, right? Of course, there is a bit of suspense because Alicia has a bit of a past. Alicia's gone through stuff, right? And Maxim is not. So also this book, I think I should let y'all know, if y'all are thinking of E.L. James and you're trying to think of 50 Shades of Grey and all that entails, this book is completely different. It has nothing, it doesn't compare, it's not in the same background, it doesn't even have any BDSM type anything. It's not that, right? This is straight contemporary, and it's it's a straight contemporary, very, very slow burn romance, right? But if you're looking for the maid trope done well, then this is it. Now the book on a whole, whether you think that's done well or not is up to you. But the trope, the use of the maid trope in this was in fact done well. So check that out if you're looking for an example. I do not have a movie example this week because again, I wanted this to be um, a very quick video. If you want, however, I can recommend the movie I was going to use for this. I won't get into it, but what I was going to use was Made in Manhattan, as that book, that movie as well, focuses around uh, a maid and her experiences, and that is what catapults. Like, I don't know if you've watched that movie. It is like a rom-com. It features Jennifer Lopez. Um, and it's a fun time. So if you want to see the maid trope used in a visual aspect in a movie, then check out Made in Manhattan. Unfortunately, I won't go a deep dive in it. I don't have a picture to put up for this one, but that's gonna be it for this week, guys. If you if you um, are new here, welcome. Go ahead, please, and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content. I put out trope deep dives every week on a Tuesday. Sometimes they're live, sometimes they're pre recorded like this one. And for the most part, we do deep dives into individual tropes, and I try to show you how those tropes are used in different forms of media. Um, I also have a Patreon. If you guys like watching people's workflow and other authors' processes, then my Patreon may be good for you if you're a writer and you're trying to get into self-publishing. I have essentially started a new pen name, Lily Love, the clean one you see down below, who is opening up I'm talking about her in third person, it's me, who's opening up her journey to share for you guys to shadow on Patreon. That's Sky Winter Books. Sorry, that's patreon.com/skywinterbooks. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check it out. There are three different tiers. You can also join as a free member. As a free member, I give you the weekly wrap ups. But if you want the in depth processes and following along as I do, like book covers, set up the author name, set up the books, publish the books, do the market research, show you the analytics, etc., then you'd want to join one of the available tiers, right? I can't go any further. I'm gonna stop right here. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Again, I'm Dee. I write under the pen name Sky Winter for Steamy, Lily Love for Clean, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.